Yeah, there's a lot of growers that reach out to me that they're tinkers. They like to add things in as they see fit, and they're throwing off the balance, the overall balance, and they're really getting into hot water there because sometimes it's hard to get back in balance in that case, right? Do you have any tips for that?
Yeah, so what I'm typically looking at, there are some major things, and the three major things are going to be sodium, bicarbonate, and chloride. So bicarbonate will antagonize all of your cations: calcium, magnesium, iron, just everything, and so it makes it so that way the plant has to work way harder to get what it needs. So even if you have sufficiency and everything is balanced in there, if you've got really high bicarbonate levels, it's going to drive down the ability for the plant to uptake those nutrients. The same thing can be said with sodium. When sodium levels get higher and higher and higher, it causes osmotic stress on the plant. The plant actually, and then if you have events where you're drying out your soil, well, then your ECE spikes, and you have all of this oxidation occurring of all your mineral elements. It's not conducive to plant health, right? It causes a lot of osmotic stress. It causes issues with all the other nutrient interactions. And then chloride. Chloride is an anion, and high chloride will also negatively affect those types of elements that are anions: phosphate, nitrate, molybdenum. So there's sulfur. Also, one of the things that you have to look at is sulfur. Sulfur can cause osmotic stress as well. And so if your sulfur levels are too high, and they can, especially if you're using a lot of mineral sulfates. And so I'll change up the mineral sulfate. Sometimes I won't use gypsum or potassium sulfate at all, and I'll use calcium silica and Agsil 16, because if my sulfur level is already high and I go ahead and add those in, I have to be mindful that I'm also adding a certain amount of sulfur into that. Sulfur is an anion. It's used to help with charge balance. It's also used for protein production. It's used for oil production. It's used for a lot of different things in the plant, and you need it. It's a photosynthetic element as well. So, but when you dry out, that sulfur causes ECE spikes. The electronic conductivity of the soil, it spikes up and cause issues with osmotic pressure. And then also it can have some negative impacts on other anions like phosphorus and nitrate.
You mentioned sodium and bicarbonate, and that's the reason why I can't use my tap water here where I am, is because we're looking at about 80 ppm of sodium, and it's real high in bicarbonates as well. pH is high, so I can't even use my tap water. I have to filter it. I've been using reverse osmosis, but that's another area where I think a lot of people kind of neglect looking at, is they don't actually they don't get a water test. So they don't even know what they're using to begin. And then they're adding in these amendments along with their water, and it's jacking everything up.
Yeah. And so what happens too is it's not necessarily going to be an issue the first round, the second round, the third round. But what happens is a lot of times these problems are compounded over time. And so you bring sodium a little bit until it adds up to a point where someone's like, dude, I don't know what's going on. I can't diagnose the issue. I haven't done anything different. My regiment's the same. What's going on? And then the first thing I do when I go to a consult is say, hey, you guys need to make sure you're testing your water. I don't care if you're using RO, city water, well water. It all has to be tested, and we'll test. If you're on a well, we'll test your well water. We'll test your RO water. We're going to see if we even need RO, right? We're going to see if we just need specific filters, because we're not trying to waste money either. We're not trying to waste water. We're trying to be as environmentally positively we don't want to create more issues. We don't want to compound problems. And it's the same thing with kelp, Oh, what's happening? I'm starting to fail for arsenic. Well, it's come to a point where that arsenic finally built up into the soil because you kept bringing it in with certain products. You can mediate that, but just knowing, But the thing is, home growers they don't test. They're not testing, and commercial facilities a lot of times don't test. It's very seldom that people are doing what I'm doing in the industry that I work in, when it's pretty standard practice across all the rest of the agriculture industry. Whether you're growing corn or soy or ornamental flowers or tomatoes, there's agronomy and data involved where we want to know how much of what we need to use so we don't over-apply and so we keep nutritional sufficiency and balance.
This clip is brought to you by AC Infinity. Use discount code MrGrowIt15 to save on any of their products.